wondering if you had any sort of particular release. I mean, I know the DNC emails and Podesta emails were all really a huge part of 2016 for most of us, but is there any publication by WikiLeaks that sort of has struck a chord with you and really resonated with you in some way?
Oh, yeah, the DNC was a big one. I mean, that's just because that really, and it wasn't just, you know, WikiLeaks certainly helped, but I mean, it was also just seeing the behavior of the DNC throughout that primary season, and all of your worst suspicions came true. You know, all of my worst suspicions come true. I mean, as long as I've been cognizant and politically awake, or whatever you want to call it, you know, I never really identified with the Democratic Party. I always felt like I was to the left of them. But for a long time, I felt like, well, they're the clearest glass. They have people like Dennis Kucinich. They have, you know, who I supported in the '08 primary. I wasn't even for Obama. But then slowly I realized, oh, wait, they try to cheat these people. These are the people they want to silence and put their thumb on as much as they can. And, you know, WikiLeaks really exposed that. And then, you know, another big thing, a lot of the stuff that came out about the military-industrial complex, a lot of the stuff that they published in relation to Edward Snowden, in relation to Chelsea Manning, you know, that really confirmed who's really running the show in the United States, what their agenda really is, and how truly morally repulsive and Orwellian it is. And, you know, I have one of those little tabs on my computer camera. You know, I usually use a webcam when I want to do content, so I like turn that off and on as I choose. And it's just, yeah, I mean, WikiLeaks was essential. I mean, you know, we talk about how valuable WikiLeaks is. I actually don't think that's accurate. I would use the word essential, because when we live in a world where you have you know, I mean, I think Chris Hedges said something like this. I'm paraphrasing him, but he said, you know, we live in a world where our news organizations hate journalism or something to that effect. And he's absolutely right. I mean, a lot of the stuff you see, and now granted, the corporate media has such a large, wide umbrella. There are some pieces of good work that slip through the cracks. It's just inevitable that something like that will happen. So it's not really interesting to dissect everything that gets published in a single day. But as a whole and structurally, there is a blatant conflict of interest, 101, going on with these organizations, to the point where the bulk majority of what they amplify for the people is not news. It is public relations. It is by the book public relations. It is by the book propaganda. Whether it's something that helps the war machine, whether it's something that helps oil and gas, which is a lot of what they put out there. They ignore every social movement. You know, you go on MSNBC and you see Rhodes Scholars pretend to not understand net neutrality. Why do they do that? Because Comcast signs their paycheck. You know, you can go down and then look at every single, for instance, when we live in a world where most our major news organizations, the one that still have the power and the largest microphones, are PR agencies. Literal PR agencies. I mean, the media structure in the United States is so disgusting. And, you know, and I studied this stuff in college. That's part of what led me to, you know, whatever I am now. That's part of what led me to all this. You know, like I studied the media reform movement. I studied the media structure. We have gotten more disgusting than I ever could have anticipated. And I dedicated my entire academic life to studying this stuff. And, you know, I find it interesting. Incredibly interesting, but it's also incredibly destructive. And you know, you look at other countries, you look at the UK, you look at Canada, their media structures certainly have their problems. I'm not here to say the BBC is perfect or the CBC is perfect. They're not. They're far from it. But comparatively speaking, what we've done in the United States, I think is just repulsive beyond comprehension. It is poison to the idea of democracy. Not just harmful, not just flawed, not just, you know, structurally deficient. Poison. It is poison to the idea of a democratic society. So, I mean, the idea of a WikiLeaks not existing is scary.